producer for the city of New York. We're going to have a great conversation. Welcome, Chris. Can everybody see you? Let's see. Yeah, there he is. All right. You can unmute your mic, Chris, and we can say hello. Your mic is still muted, so you're going to have to unmute it. There you go. There you go. Chris is in Midtown, New York City. Welcome, Chris.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, indeed.
Hallelujah.
Well, welcome. So glad you could join us. And man, ambassador over 50 countries, contact tracer, friend to Jazz Power, playing in our octet sometimes, preparing music for our recordings, 15 CDs as a leader, oftentimes renewing interest in a historical figure like saxophonist Frank Strozier or G.G. Grice. I wanted to ask you, Chris, how did growing up in New York influence your journey to become a musician? Because I know you've been in this town your whole life. At least that's your home base anyway, right?
Sure. Born and raised. Well, it's all within your grasp here. Musicians are very accessible people, and my whole life I've been fortunate to be in touch with people that knew a lot more than I did, and I could just bother them as much as a student or disciple or acolyte could to learn what I could. Jazz musicians are pretty friendly. I'm sure you've noticed. Who
are some of the cats that you got to hang with when you were, coming up? Who's a couple of people that come to mind?
Well, my first experience was with jazz drummer Richie Pratt, who had a trio with Roland Hanna and Major Holly. And in the late 1970s, I was 6 years old. Richie Pratt was a huge dude, and I was this tiny little kid. And so we looked like a 10-to-1 ratio of body mass. I was a drum student, 7 years old with him, and I remember going to his gigs. He was very influential. Then fast forward 10 years, Barry Harris, of course, many of us have been touched by that, and his generosity of sharing. But
you started on drums? That's news to me. You started on drums.
I did. And I also had an opera career as a child singer, New York City Opera. So the jazz part was the drumming, but there was a whole classical thing too. The operas need kids too. So I sang at the Met and the City Opera from age 7 to 13.
And both your parents are musicians, right?
Classically trained Juilliard graduates. My dad played with New York City Ballet Orchestra for 40 years, and my mother was first clarinetist under Stokowski in the 1960s. Leopold from the Bugs Bunny cartoon. Leopold.
Wow.
That guy. She was his
So
first
what did they
clarinetist.
think? What did they think about you going into jazz? Were they
Full
they cool
support.
with it? Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, full support. Yep.
Beautiful. Well, now you're prolific as a band leader. You've made I believe this next song we're going to hear is from an album that's kind of based in your New York story. But I wanted to ask you, what motivates you today as a composer, band leader? What are some of the things that motivate you, or that particularly motivate this next song we're going to hear, Chess?
Okay, well, music can be about anything. This song was dedicated to my son, who at the time was obsessed with chess. He's still quite good at it. So this is a game of chess, but in jazz.
All right. Well, you got it. Chris Byars on Jazz Power Jam. Welcome.
1, 2, 3.
All right, all right. Chris Byars and the Sextet and an original piece called Chess. Wonderful work, Chris. Now, of course, with this pandemic, you haven't been able to travel with your band as you usually would. So you've got involved in a whole new side of contact tracing. Now, I understand that grows out of the fact that you're bilingual in Spanish. How did you get involved in that?
Well, I played for the job, and they took me. I had the bilingual skills definitely helped. But there's 3,000 of us doing calls every day. We have a lot of people to call to check up on. Some of the calls are just quick 5-minute calls. How are you doing? Are you okay? Do you need food? Have you been going outside like you shouldn't be? Those questions. But then there's the 60-minute interview of like, who were you hanging out last week, and can we have their number? And I got to say, New Yorkers, very cooperative, very helpful. And, we haven't stopped COVID, but we have certainly lessened it by our efforts collectively, not just me, but the New Yorkers that are participating and helping us.
Fantastic. That's such important work. And you're part of a team, right? You're Contact Tracer Team 76. Is that right?
Yeah. It's like 101st Airborne or something. There's just all these little divisions, and we have about 20 of us that work together, and we share information as we go. I was designated team leader, but I'm not the supervisor. That's the boss. I like to help out our team. They're wonderful people, and we're all going through this together. That's the thing about this pandemic, is we're all in the same boat. And whenever that happens, actually, a lot of community is established. So I'm looking forward to live music on the other side of this when we all come out of the pandemic and go into the jazz club.
Beautiful, beautiful. And do you find that your skills as a musician help you at all as a contact tracer?
Very much. Listening, timing, all of that stuff that you do in music has everything to do with dealing with people.
Fantastic. Well, you've dealt with people all around the world, and we're going to hear a song now that you did with Ari Roland and the band, a Hungarian folk song. All right, Chris Byars playing with Ari Roland and the band on Jazz Power Jam. Welcome, everybody. So glad you could join us. Chris Byars, my guest, composer, band leader, saxophonist, arranger, orchestrator, contact tracer. So glad to be joining us. Have you with us, Chris. And you've been to over 50 countries. And that's 50, folks. 50 countries as a jazz ambassador for the United States Department of State. I've had the good fortune to do 20 countries, but you've been to 50. How does this, does this ever become routine for you? Or, what keeps you going back to do it again and again? How has this work affected you as a musician?
Well, it's pretty much always the first time for whoever I'm dealing with. Either it's a brand new country for me, or I'm so happy to see it again. Both of those situations are great. And ironically, our last topic of contact tracing, that keeps coming up I'm sorry, this jazz ambassador thing keeps coming up in the contact tracing because I speak to people from places I've been and I say, oh, I can sing you a song from Pakistan, and they can't believe it, or yeah, I've been to Myanmar, Rangoon, Yangon. I've been there. So it's a great way, New York is the whole world right here in a city. So these two things are actually kind of related. But yeah, the State Department of the United States government does do this soft diplomacy of reaching out and sharing cultural exchange programs. Now, in this next segment, we have a perfect example of a program that brought the music of Algeria back to Algeria. And to briefly explain that, there was about a 50-year period where these musicians were not allowed in the country due to political differences that had happened, from an uprising in the 60s. They were banned, but the music survived as a diasporal way of continuing the culture. And our embassy there said, what if we got this band of people that are keeping this music alive, got them back to Algeria and had a performance of this music that they know from like way long ago. Anyway, I had the fortune of being part of that because in order to fund it, they did need an American on stage. So the American embassy put me on stage with this band of like 40 people that were absolutely incredible. I've never had an experience like this, just surrounded. If you can look on stage and imagine being where I was, surrounded. I had ouds on my right and violins on my left and the percussion all around me. I mean, it was just incredible. Anyway, they brought the house down. I got to play a solo, but they did all the work and I just had a great time. But jazz got me there.
Amazing. Well, let's check it out on the Intergenerational Jazz Power Jam.
سالي سالي ما تروح القضية بالدور سالي سالي ما تروح القضية بالدور مفقودي لي البحر خيرة اليوم مفقودي لي البحر خيرة اليوم عباس الكاس مصري كاس تعتمد الناس عباس الكاس يقرأ سكر وحتى فركاس الفقور في تفقدي الفقور في
All right, all right. That's Chris Byars over in Algeria, and a special program for the U.S. Department of State and a reunion of sorts of some of the top Algerian musicians who had been not allowed to play for 50 years, right? And that was the comeback time. Incredible, incredible. And you could see everybody dancing, and the power of music and dance is such a universal experience. And I know for myself, as traveling as a jazz musician, it's always felt to me that jazz is the perfect music to kind of connect across cultures, because it's already a hybrid of East and West culture. It's got Western elements, it's got Eastern elements, it's got oral elements, it's got, written elements. Is that something you've experienced as well?
Well, that's the whole trick, is to go to these countries and find a song that the kids know and the grandmother knows, and you can play it as a jazz version. And as soon as you activate that memory center in the audience, they go, okay, I know that tune, but you're doing something different. And then they find out about jazz that way. But also it's so inclusive that you can invite musicians to sit in. They don't need to know all the rules and everything about jazz. They just do their thing. And you make music together. Jazz has been the perfect medium to connect with people all around the world.
Now, I know that it's Black History Month, and you have featured in your work many times. You've made tribute to great Black musicians such as Gigi Grice. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, sure. First of all, we owe a lot of debt to the Black American community for creating this music and for everything they put into it. It is Black American music, but of course now it's for everyone. It belongs to the entire world, but it came from them for sure. Gigi Grice specifically, I'll say, in a way, he was kind of a advocate for civil rights too, because he was at a time when Black American composers were easily being taken advantage of by people that knew legal copyright know-how. He was an advocate for people who were composers to copyright and secure their composing rights. Horace Silver, Randy Weston, Jimmy Heath, a lot of Benny Golson, they became part of his publishing company and were more protected and better treated for their intellectual property. So there's a little bit of Black history in there too. Not a lot of people talk about that.
But then, kind of tragically in a way, Gigi was run out of town, but he didn't leave town. Instead, he changed his name, right? He became a Black Muslim and became a band director in a middle school in the Bronx.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he can't keep a good man down. But I think the same people that wanted to take advantage of composers, they didn't like the fact that he was helping them. And they made him a sort of an offer he couldn't refuse to get out, and he did. But his work continued on. He inspired a lot of people, and we did actually visit that school and play his music at that school and reconnect with a few people that had actually known him in the 80s. So again, it's all in New York, so it's right here. You can touch history.
That's fantastic. Well, so glad that you're touching us and all our viewers today on the Jazz Power Jam. Welcome, everybody. Welcome all our friends from the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, our collaborators producing this with Jazz Power Initiative, an uptown New York City-based nonprofit organization dedicated to transforming lives through jazz arts, education, and performance. We're here with Chris Byars, and now we get to play one. And it's a Gigi Grice composition, and it's called Baba's Blues. Check it out.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm going to give you my little introduction to the next song. If you checked your calendar, you'll know that it's Valentine's Day. And of course, music is often an expression of love in some sense or another. And I thought a lot about what kind of song to play as a love song for you. Of course, you got the tenor classic Body and Soul, which is a song about unrequited love. And there's also a lot of mushy ones about when things are working out okay. But I thought I'd just be a little more abstract and give to you a song that is dedicated to all the great jazz listeners out there. You know, jazz listeners have a career. They listen and they get better at listening. They listen to better and better musicians and they learn more and more songs and they get to know who's good and who swings and who plays in tune and plays their favorite songs. And so this song is by one of the great composers, Thelonious Monk, to one of the great jazz fans of all time, Pannonica de Koningswood. And this is her song. It's called Pannonica. All right. So happy Valentine's Day to all of you and all of you jazz listeners, all you lovebirds, all you unrequited lovers out there, all you singles. I'm sure it'll work out sooner than later. And basically, I love all of my New Yorkers for participating in our contact tracing program. So there's just lots of love going out there today from me to you and all around. I'm going to tell you about a very interesting person who has volunteered to participate in today in our live video, all the way from Beirut, Lebanon. And this is a person I came to know about 8 or 9 years ago through Skype, the miracle of online meetings, which of course we're quite familiar with right now. And this is Ali Jaradi. Ali Jaradi is a Beirut Lebanese saxophone jazz musician who cares a lot about this music. And I'm glad to know him. I'm inspired by him. And he also recently got married not that long ago. So happy Valentine's Day, you newlywed lovebird over there. And we'd like to hear from Ali. He's got a little prepared introduction and some music to play for us. So ladies and gentlemen, from Beirut, Ali Jaradi.
Hi, I'm Ali Jaradi, saxophonist from Lebanon. I've been playing saxophone since 15 years, mainly jazz since about 5 years, and I'll be presenting a short video. Hope you like it. Thank you.
let's not forget what we've learned.
All right. Jazz Power Jam and Abide With Me. What a beautiful rendition. You know, I remember, Chris, hearing that song from a Thelonious Monk record, and I know that was one of Monk's favorite hymns, in part because the composer's name is also Monk, but it's not any relation to Thelonious. But it's so cool that Ali chose that, and what a great tribute to Black History Month, Monk's favorite hymn, and jazz music heard around the globe. I know Monk would have gotten a kick out of it, and we sure gotten a kick out of you, Chris, and thank you for being part of our Intergenerational Jazz Power Jam today.
My pleasure, Eli. I'm glad to participate and lend a reed to the effort of making some music together. It's been a lot of fun. It's great to connect with you again, and I appreciate everything that you've done to keep this music going, to keep young folks interested, and just to keep the momentum going in this 21st century. Of course, it isn't easy, but we got to do it.
Yeah. And I was thinking, I mean, I think there's some optimism in the air. People are getting the vaccines, but we really have several months, if not longer, to go before we're going to get back to normal. Isn't that right?
Right. And the important thing is to you don't want to be the last person to get this thing. Okay. Let's be safe. Let's lower the spread by not getting it. And observing the public health protocols.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to know that somebody with your great competence, intelligence, and soulfulness is contributing to the effort to help us get healthy as a community. So thank you, Chris, for the service you're doing, and the Contact Tracer Team 76. And thank you for spreading the knowledge and love of jazz around the globe. It's wonderful to see, and we wish you many more decades in your music career, spreading that magic. All right. So everybody, we've got some more for you. We've got some jam now from the Jazz Power Jam. Now, if you'd like to be part of this Jazz Power Jam, we'd like you to be part of it too. You can send a video up to 5 minutes, kind of like Ali did. You can send it to us at info@jazzpower.org, or if you just want more information, please email us info@jazzpower.org. Our next live stream will be March 14th, and we'll need the video by March 10th to get it on that program. So we're going to continue in this streaming format. We do hope to be coming to you from National Jazz Museum at that time. We'll see. We're working on that. But we do want to thank our friends at National Jazz Museum in Harlem for your great support and continued support of this program, which has been going since 2017. We're going to turn now to one of the youngsters in our ZA Jazz Power Youth Program, Therese Francois. She's a 10th grader at LaGuardia Performing Arts High School. I think that's the same high school that Chris went to, isn't it, Chris? Didn't you go to LaGuardia?
Technically, no.
Okay.
I went to Monk School, Stuyvesant.
Okay. Well, I know some of your colleagues, like I believe Ari Rowland didn't go there either. Well,
But
I know some
everybody
of the people. I know a lot of your cats you knew went there. Therese is there now, and so is Kimberly, who's also in ZA. And Therese is going to be performing a song from our jazz musical Noah's Ark. It's called "There's Blue All Around Me, But I'm Not Feeling Blue Today."
Oh, great.
1, 2, 3.
Listen to me, cheetah. Breathe deep and take it slow. I know you're feeling down now, but you have got to let it go. There's blue all around me, but I'm not feeling blue today. My soul was once a cat.
taken. They threw me in a cage. They told me to be happy, to put away my rage. They wine me and they dine me on the finest sirloin steak. But once I ate that bloody food, that's when my soul was there to take. There's blue all around me, but I'm not feeling blue today. There's no hunger in my soul now, baby, because my freedom is here to stay. Oh yeah.
It's a lovely day today for whatever you've got to do. I'd be so happy to be doing it with you.
So if you've got something that must be done, and it can only be done by one,
There's nothing more to say, except it's a lovely day for saying it's a lovely day.
it's a lovely day today for whatever you've got to do. I'd be so happy to be doing it with you.
So if you've got something that must be done, and it can only be done by one, there's nothing more to say,
Except it's a lovely day for saying it's a lovely day.
except it's a lovely day for saying it's a lovely day.
All right. It's the Intergenerational Jazz Power Jam. And that video, we want to thank Kimberly and Therese for submitting that video. They are 10th graders at LaGuardia Performing Arts High School in New York City. If you would like to join us for next month's Jazz Power Jam, send an email to info@jazzpower.org, or you might be able to see the sign-up sheet in the chat. We're trying to keep the same groove going that we would if we were all live at the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, but we're doing it virtually. We do hope you'll send in your video and we can expand the jam session. And we welcome high school students, college students, others in the community who would like the opportunity to be showcased in this format. We want to thank the United States Embassy in Algeria for the excerpt of the video El Gusto and Chris Byars Celebrate Jazz Month. Also, special thanks to the National Jazz Museum in Harlem for providing a nurturing space for our artists, educators, and students, as well as a regular home for our Jazz Power Intergenerational Jazz Jam. Thank you to the supporters of the Intergenerational Jazz Power Jam, the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, the Hispanic Federation, the Miranda Family Fund, the New York State Council on the Arts, Governor Andrew Cuomo, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, Mayor Bill de Blasio, and individual supporters like you. The Jazz Power Board of Directors thanks you for joining us. Wendy Rothman, our president, Joe Fortunato, our vice president, Becca Pulliam, treasurer, Patricia Pastor, secretary, Rondi Charleston, Ron Claiborne, Tom Dempsey, Jeff Jones, the Jedi Master, Tanya Lamel, and yours truly, Eli Yamin. I want to thank all our staff, Hani Gonzalez, our amazing technical director, Jonathan Hernandez, our video editor and assistant producer, and all the artists, all the musicians, all the recording technology people who have helped contribute to this program. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to close with one more piece of music, and this is a premiere of our performance from the Clean Energy for America inaugural ball. It's a song I'm singing that I wrote about climate change, and I hope you enjoy it today on Jazz Power Jam. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll catch you the next time.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Snow started falling, and it just won't stop. 3 inches an hour, and the subway's locked. Turned on the TV, everyone is blue. There's only one story, and it still is new. He's the maddest doctor that you ever seen. He's red and high and almost green. Wild stepchild, the plasticine, that's climate change. It's getting warmer, 1 or 2 degrees. Shouldn't make no difference or make a blind man sneeze. She might just be better getting rid of us. That's what's gonna happen unless we make a fuss. He's the maddest doctor that you ever seen. He's red and high and almost green. The wild stepchild who won't come clean, that's climate